welcome to another episode of LYN Sessions. And today we have not one, but two very important figures at Maxis. I'll let them introduce themselves, but let me tell you first, it's very hard to get them in the same room to get through this interview. So please, welcome guys.
Thank you.
You can introduce yourselves.
So I'm Morten, I'm CTO of Maxis, so that means I'm responsible for building the network and our IT systems.
Right.
And I'm Dushyan. I'm the head of the consumer business team here. So we manage everything from products to brand to customer management and value creation, basically.
Right, it's a lot of stuff. Let's just get into this. We have some questions I think that a lot of people want to know. I'll direct them to both of you guys for the most part.
Good.
Actually, maybe we start off with one of the most interesting questions that we've received actually is today, and we know that Malaysians use a lot and we love data. And I think probably you can give us some examples on like how much the average Maxis user is, how much data are we using?
Yeah, so when we look at the Maxis, also in Malaysia, it's some of the most internet savvy places in the world. When we compare our data usage to some of the big players, say in Europe, you can see our usage around 4 or 5 times higher in Malaysia than in Europe. So and it's growing at a steady pace. It more than doubled in our network, the usage for every of our customer during the last year.
Wow.
So now we are looking at more than 7 gigabyte per month for our postpaid customers and more than 4 for our prepaid. And especially when we look at our 40 users, it's even higher.
Yeah. Okay. What's the pattern? The usage pattern has like you mentioned that it's doubled in the last year, but I think we can see that the pattern has always been growing very, very quickly. And how's it been like in the last few years, if you were to say?
Yeah, what actually happened last year that it grew much faster than in the previous years. So I think there's a few things that drive that. Of course, I think now we have a very good 4G network, and most people are now having 4G handsets that have smartphones. That's the one driver. And the other big driver is that more and more content becomes video, and high quality video. So if you look at our network, YouTube and Facebook is more than 50% of our traffic in our network. And that is driven by Facebook now also being very video dominant.
Right, that's true. So actually that leads me to the next question. So what exactly are Maxis customers using their data for? Like you mentioned this videos, but are they talking about like other things like apps or maybe like streaming stuff besides Facebook? There's like, Netflix, iFlix as well.
Actually, that's really interesting. Just adding to Morten's point earlier about people increasing their usage behaviors. Most of the drive has actually also been because of the size of the screen of phones that are being sold in 4G and the quality of the screens as well. So video has become much more accessible and of higher quality in terms of experience. And most of the growth over the last year, almost doubled, as Morten said, almost doubled in terms of GB growth, has been because of video. So it's primarily one of where people are now experiencing a lot more content on the go, a lot more content, when they're waiting, and high quality content. So the two combination of factors, good devices, quality devices with high quality content, very relevant. That's really driving data growth around, not just in Malaysia, but around the world, but more so in Malaysia. And YouTube still dominates. YouTube is still the predominant video streaming platform in Malaysia. And you'd be surprised that it's not just on Malaysians, foreign workers. All our segments have a huge interest in videos and YouTube in particular.
I have 2 children, 8 and 11.
Yeah.
Their screen time is YouTube. And television is not of interest anymore.
Yeah, I think that's
all the YouTube.
Something that we notice as well.
Actually, there's a fact now that says there's more screen time now outside TV on small screens than on large screens. So that just shows you where things are moving.
Right. So now that we know we've established this is an established fact that we are now using more data than ever, what is Maxis using? What is Maxis doing to provide the same level of experience as before, especially when we are now using all this data? How do you maintain this network?
Yeah, and of course that you can say becomes increasingly difficult to manage. But first of all, we continue to invest heavily, and if you look over the last 3 years, we invested more than anyone into our network, and we continue to invest in that experience. Another thing where we see the growth is really in on our 4G and LTE network. So what we're also doing is we look at our spectrum. That means the capacity basically an operator has available, and we're giving bigger and bigger chunks of that to our 4G network. So we've been doing a number of these exercises this year on top of continuing the investment.
Yeah. One of the things, I think another way that in terms of businesses and telcos especially, they've been trying to personalize the services to the customer, and it's more of a very direct to customer service, and a lot of it's obviously driven by data analytics and big data. So how does Maxis deploy this? Do you have any examples?
Yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress. It's a continuous evolution of how we manage the data that we get and how we then use it to ensure that our customers get a more personalized, value-driven plan. It's the way that big data is used. I mean, two words big data are used, in so many different variants that sometimes you don't quite understand what people are talking about. What we see it in Maxis is that, as like you said, we sell a lot of GBs. People are using GBs for many different things across the content and OTT space. And what we've started to now get more and more information is, as we know more and more what they use their GBs for, we can be more relevant for who they are as a customer. I mean, if you think about the days of old voice and SMS, there wasn't really much variations for what you would do with voice and SMS. But clearly, like we said, Facebook grows, YouTube grows. And if you identify these customers that are using certain specific platforms or services for their needs, we can upsell and cross-sell them things that they might find much more relevant than we can do now. So if you look at mass marketing, right? I mean, if you walk into a store and you buy a pair of shoes, right? Sure. The old days, when you walk in a pair of shoes, we trained the retail guy to maximize the value that you could get from the customer, because he didn't have enough information about the customer. He'd offer you a pair of glasses, for example, which you didn't need. Yeah. But now with all that information that we have, you buy that pair of shoes and we give you shoelaces, or we give you, polish or something like that, because we know exactly who you are as a customer and what you need, and so we give you things that we feel are much more relevant and intuitive for you. So, and a lot of companies talk about digital services and moving into the area of how they can drive revenue through new services and new digital platforms. We see a lot of what we do in the future is about how we can drive more and more relevant products to different segments. When I talk about segments, I don't even mean it in the traditional way of youth or the foreign worker segment or the high value segment. You see different segments based on people who like to use Facebook in the evening, people who like to roam. The segments become more about how you use your data and how you contribute towards the overall internet experience, rather than specific demographics, and that's helping us a lot to understand our customers a lot better.
Actually, there was some conversations that I've been to several months ago that they were talking about how telecommunication companies are evolving into more than just selling airtime, but rather as a services company. What do you stand? Where do you guys stand in terms of this statement?
There are. I mean, clearly, as you become a company that's more driven, if you're an access company that's becoming more and more utility driven, you need to find various ways of monetization and growing your revenue. And I think telcos around the world have started to realize that there are companies that probably are finding it harder and harder to grow in terms of revenue. Our personal view, our view in Maxis is that given the growth in data, especially in Malaysia, we've talked about how much data has grown in the last year, we think there are significant opportunities to maximize the wallet share by selling or cross-selling or bundling content and OTT services. We don't necessarily think that we will be a provider of those or a developer of those services, but the thing that we can do best is to ensure that the customers that stay with us and are on our platform are always receiving the best services and the best OTT services through a bundle or through a package that we can offer them. And that's what we call the Core Plus strategy, which is to drive a very very telco driven billing and CRM platform to one that's now a lot more intelligent and can start cross-selling and upselling other people's digital services to those relevant customers. And we see a huge potential because the appetite of Malaysians for these services is huge.
Yeah.
And although we might not get the same margins that we used to get by selling airtime, we contribute to the share of wallet, and then somehow we grow the lifetime value of the customer.
Right. So eventually you're just about retaining and luring the
and
customers
delivering
as
and
well.
cross-selling and bundling and creating an integrated platform that allows people to choose and swap. It just allows them the flexibility and the convenience to manage all that different data across many devices.
Right.
And it's really important to note as well that the average number of devices in a household, mobile device as well as all the internet devices, has almost tripled in the last 5 years or so. So there's the access to the internet. It's not just the landline now going into your computer. People all over the house are using the internet.
Correct.
And to be able to segregate their needs based on the individuals within the house rather than just a household becomes really important. So what do you sell, the dad, and how do you sell to the kids? And so it's a very interesting matrix, but that's where I think the maximizing of the wallet becomes, because you're not just selling to one person anymore, you're selling to households, and you're selling not just internet through one phone device, but many devices, as well as the Wi-Fi proposition as well on top of that.
So I think that's how, that's where the whole one plan comes into play with the 1 ringgit
The devices
things,
across on many devices. So it's a very simple philosophy that selling devices to an individual doesn't mean that you're limited to just one device. You can have multiple devices, and in the future it's not just the devices but the number of services as well, so you'll be selling multiple services to one account. We talk about ARPA a lot in Maxis, and ARPA really means the average revenue per account.
Right.
Rather than seeing it as an individual, we tend to see it as a cluster of people in an account and how we manage that account.
Actually, back to Morten. I understand that one of the biggest statements or the biggest complaint, I would say, about the Maxis network is that it is always their plans are very expensive or versus the competition. And I think a lot of the feedback from them as well, like from the users themselves, is that the network is actually it's premium because it's actually better. Like, do you think Maxis, obviously you're going to say this, but do you think that Maxis has the best network in Malaysia?
You should ask me.
One of my fiercest critics sitting here. That's good. That's good. Feedback only makes it better. No, but of course we have many people who looks at it. We're hundreds of people trying to improve that every day, so we make a big effort here. And when we look at some of the also independent studies, for example the YouTube HD video study that measures all the YouTube sessions in the whole country, we come out with the highest possible score every month, and we've done that consistently. We're the only one in the country, so I think if you can have a good experience with high quality video, that's at least one benchmark that I think we strive to continue to stay in that position. And there's another couple of other independent MCMC, the MRT study here, even your own, So that's one thing. That said, of course, no network is perfect, and no network is ever going to be perfect. So we are not going to rest on a given situation. As the capacity demand grows, that means we need to invest. There's new places being built, there's new buildings coming up, that means we have to change our network. So it's a sort of continuous evolution, but I would like to think that we really care about it, and we really care about the detail, and that's sort of the philosophy we have. And if we continue to do that, then at least I hope we believe we can continue to deliver a good experience.
Right. The old days, we judged a network based on its coverage, right?
Yeah.
Do you have coverage? Yeah. So because the old days, your lifeline was voice call and SMS, and all you needed was a bar to make those calls or SMS. That perspective has changed completely, because the quality that you receive in that coverage area becomes more and more the determining factor as people want to watch videos and all the other things. And if you imagine it, right? I mean, if your internet's down at home, it's almost as bad as not having water or electricity. It's become an essential part of the household. And the quality that you deliver that internet to, because the household is so dependent on it, becomes more and more important. So it's not about just having coverage anymore. It's ensuring that the quality you build within that network continuously exceeds the expectations of your customers. And to be really fair, and I think we have built the best network in Malaysia. I'm very proud of it. But to be really fair, I think Malaysians in general, if you compare the quality of the internet, mobile internet in Malaysia versus even a lot of European countries, it's significantly better. It's one of the reasons why people enjoy so much mobile internet in Malaysia and why these things have grown twice, because the quality of the internet in the country is really good, and Maxis continues to lead in that direction.
I actually have to agree that most of the countries in Europe that I've been to.
Yeah. So
I think we've been a bit spoiled over here.
and so that it comes back to the fact, so is there a premium to? Of course, it's a fine balance between trying to create quality and charge, because if we could, if it was free to roll out a good quality network, we'd maximize the competitiveness of our plan, but we need to continue to ensure that people have the best quality experience. And we've seen in a lot of our surveys, and we've seen through our customers, that because internet is so important in terms of its quality, that people are willing to put their eggs in a company that they can consistently get quality from. And we try to therefore drive more and more convenience, worry-free services in terms of roaming, and to make the experience easier.
Right.
But it is essential for people to get good quality now because the internet is so important.
With that in mind, I think we've already said again, time and again, that we are using way so much, like a lot of data every day, 7 gigs on average per month. And we've seen a couple or several, I think now three of the players in Malaysia now offering like data plans with unlimited data. Do you think Maxis will have an unlimited data plan anytime soon, or what are the values do you see, the benefits and propositions of having an unlimited data plan?
Yeah, I think the question is that in anything that you roll out or anything that you provide to your customers, there's a sweet spot to it as well. And if you look at most of the data plans now, they're almost unlimited, right? It's like 30 GB, 60 GB. And the average usage, even the median usage of those plans doesn't go beyond maybe 60% of the total GBs that you put in the plan. Now, if you provide unlimited plans, there will be a few users that maximize the GBs on that plan, and they bring the quality of the network down for all the other users that are using it fairly. So it's a very undemocratic thing to do, because you surely want to provide a good quality internet to as many people as possible, and you don't want it to be abused by a few people. And unlimited plans tend to do that, because there are certain individuals within that value sector that will maximize it. It could be businesses, it could be tethering and stuff, but they then affect the overall quality that we can provide, because you can imagine there's only a certain amount we can charge for an unlimited plan.
Correct.
But think about it, some people are getting so much less value for it than others and are suffering from the quality from it. So I think unlimited plans work if there is a defined segment or defined group, but for mass plans to go out and provide unlimited data, to me it worries me, not only because of the fact that you're creating a price point that you can never then monetize further, but it worries me about where does the quality of the service then go to.
Right.
How do we continue to provide the high quality that people do enjoy now, but still provide unlimited data because of the few who will abuse it?
Yes. So I think one of the compromises that Maxis and I think a few other telcos have done is to create weekend data quotas, where it's like half and half. Where do you see this coming from? Like, is it a good compromise? Is it something that maybe just for a time being before something else comes along? What do you think?
Actually, I'm really proud to say that we started the weekend thing. Like most things, I think we started running voice and SMS, the weekend thing. Yeah, they should. Yeah, I was going to ask for permission from everyone, but anyway. I think the weekend thing was just an idea about the fact that people do enjoy the internet on the weekends. You'd be surprised, but there are a lot of homes in Malaysia that actually enjoy better quality mobile internet at home than they do with their fixed line. And we've seen that weekend usage does increase even though people are at home. And we want to provide them with an option to use the weekend to enjoy it and enjoy the internet. I think it was just identifying with the usage behavior. It's one thing that has been introduced. We've introduced another thing in prepaid, which is called happy hour.
Right, yes.
And happy hour tries to identify, because if you look at how people use the internet during the day, different people use their peak at different times. So we're saying get to choose any hour that you want and enjoy free internet during that hour. So again, it's all going back to that first question that we're trying to personalize and we're trying to identify users based on their behavior rather than creating a mass plan that says everyone should fit this plan.
Right.
And you will see a lot more of that going forward. You will see these segmentation exercises that identify specific users, their specific needs, and create appropriate products and services and plans around that.
I think that's pretty much all the questions I have, but before we leave, I have one question for both of you, and this is something that's just a little more fun. For both of you, which is more important, having fast data speeds or a stable connection that is a little bit slow?
I can't live with only a compromise here.
I know.
That's gonna work.
We've been spoiled, right? So
sort of a high definition YouTube that buffers occasionally, I wouldn't be happy. And connection that doesn't give you high definition video, I wouldn't be happy either. So I think you have to answer. You need both.
You definitely need a minimum speed. You can't. But because there's an always on streaming usage behavior now, in the old days we'd wait till the middle of the night, download it. I shouldn't say EP4. We'd download a file and watch. But today it's instant, right?
Yeah.
We want access to things instantly, so you do need stability, but you need a minimum speed to enjoy the quality of the internet. But I would say stability, because it's an always on behavior now. People are always on the internet, and that needs to be at least the basis of everything that we build on.
Alright, cool. I think that's all we have. Thanks for joining us today, guys. I know that schedules are really packed, so
Friday afternoon couldn't think of better thing to do.
Exactly. So thanks again, and I hope to see you guys again soon.
Great.